Hi there, I'm Joey from EDH Rec, and before I get into today's video, I've got to address this.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joey Schultz's straight and therefore evil twin.
Dang, cat's out of the bag. Long lost twin confirmed, let the lore be known. But really though, can we all take a moment to congratulate Maldhound on having the courage to come out as straight? Much brave, very ally. By the way, Maldhound, thanks for using the pictures that I took after I lost like 60 pounds and was kind of feeling myself. Really appreciate it. All right, let's get to business. So this video is about, a topic that apparently a lot of people have some very strong feelings about. And bar none, it is the topic that in all of Commander history, I have seen cause the highest number of 0 IQ hot takes. Yes, that's right, we're talking about mass land destruction, mass land denial, resource lockout. Let's dispel some myths about this extremely charged subject, because everyone, and I do mean everyone, and I do mean everyone is wrong about mass land destruction in Commander. Yes, I mean you. I mean your playgroup. I mean the people who are preemptively leaving comments based only off of the title of this video in the first couple minutes alone. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. When I say everyone, I mean everyone. I mean your mailman, I mean your local representatives, I mean your dog, I mean myself. Hell, my mom taught me how to play Magic and she's wrong about this too. Tons of people make claims about the sins of mass land denial. Tons of others are making cases for mass land denial. It's a very heated topic that will never die. And of course, since brackets are the talk of the town right now, and land denial as a category is regulated to the bracket 4+ space, that's ignited the conversation all over again. Which is to say, I've just seen people yelling at each other all over again. Now let me be 100% upfront. This is not a video designed to bolster any specific team's arguments. I'll spoil this whole video for you right now. If you're wondering whether I take the side of mass land destruction being awful or mass land destruction being good, actually, I'm happy to inform you that what I am is a 32-year-old 6'1" tax-paying adult. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings on this topic. However, some of the things that people out there are saying are buck wild. So let's set the record to something that I will never be. Straight. Myth 1, what even is MLD? Before I can even get into the meaty stuff, we've got to set some very basic foundations, because from moment one, we're going to have people not even able to agree on what MLD is. That's the first thing, actually. When I say MLD, I mean mass land denial. I'll probably end up shorthanding that a lot in this video. And it seems I may end up risking a controversial opinion or two in this video. And if you would also like to take a risk, the YouTube buttons are right there, waiting for you. So real quick, here are some things that are not MLD. Strip mine, generous gift, targeting a land. Pinpoint removal is not MLD, and it is in fact pretty frickin' sweet. When your opponent has like a Field of the Dead or a Cabal Coffers or a Glacial Chasm, blow those things up. Those cards deserve to get murked. I know you lost a lot of mana production capabilities when your Nykthos got hit with a Tectonic Edge, but I am here to inform you that I do not feel sorry about nuking your Nykthos, and I will do it again because I know that you're trying to Genesis Wave for X = 16, and I would rather nip that in the bud, please and thank you. Pinpoint removal, even of mana resources, is interaction that makes the game's strategy deeper and richer, and your extremely valuable utility lands are high priority targets. Please refer to this previous video. You will not be left alone in this game. The game of Commander is about cool interactions. It is a sign of respect that your opponents are trying to snipe your really cool land. And this is not a moment to whine about being targeted. This is an opportunity to level up and figure out how to make your game plan work, even despite possible setbacks. Also not included under the term MLD, accidentally killing some lands. Austere Command destroyed all artifacts and that happened to hit my Vault of Whispers and friends. Happens to me all the time. I wanted the extra artifact synergy and I took a risk by putting them into the deck. Oh well. I don't think that other player put Austere Command in their deck with the express purpose of hitting my incidental artifact lands. I think they put that card in their deck because it's a decent board wipe. That's not intentional resource denial, that's just collateral damage. The reason that they put that in their deck is different from the reasons that a person puts an Armageddon in their deck. We all know what the angle is there. So Pinpoint and incidental stuff, not MLD. But things that are MLD, Armageddon and friends, sure, but take note of the way that it's been stated in a lot of these bracket discussions going around. It's not just mass land destruction, it's mass denial. Ergo, Stasis, Winter Orb, Sunder, Nature's Revolt to animate all the lands and then cast an Elish Norn to kill them all. That's not accidental collateral. You put those cards on that deck for that purpose. And yes, that means Blood Moon and Contamination too. Let's not get bogged down in being rules lawyery and actually-y about this. Removing permanent resources en masse in a way that affects people's ability to cast more stuff in the future is what we're talking about. Is Blood Moon a little bit different because it's specifically punishing non-basics and therefore presumably greedy mana bases? I suppose so, But is the reality of the situation that that card introduces a different game dynamic, much in the way that a lot of other resource restricting spells do too? Yes, and that is what people are reacting to. Every game of Commander is a family-style pizza, and if the group doesn't like pineapple on the pizza, you're going to get funny looks when you play a card that transforms the meat lovers into a Hawaiian. If my man doesn't like olives, I'm not going to serve him a tapenade and try to convince him that it's a very sophisticated dish, actually, because I don't want to sleep on the damn couch. Besides, what even constitutes a greedy mana base anymore? Even the new Jeskai Precon only has 14 basic lands in it. The reason people don't like MLD, the reason all those types of cards consistently get the highest SALT scores in our yearly community poll is because cards like those alter everyone's ability to actually do the thing that they wanted to do on game night, which is play the game. The issue at hand is a fundamental mismatch of expectations. So if you're going to try and argue about the semantics of which of these really count as MLD, you're already missing the point. And if you're fussing over any instance of people messing with even one of your lands, you're crying wolf. The rest of us are waiting for you to get on the same page so that we can actually discuss the topic at large. Please don't leave yourself behind. Okay? Okay. Myth 2, MLD is fine if you play it to win. I'll make a bet with you right now that this is the number one thing people are writing in the comments. This one is insanely popular. If you just Google MLD EDH Reddit, you're going to find so many posts and comments making statements like this, that the real problem with mass lane denial is when it gets played without a proper plan, but that if you play it to secure the win, that's all good. Now, there are some half-truths in this one. I appreciate the attempt that's happening here, but it is still wrong. Hear me out, let me make my case. Armageddon pass is annoying, sure. But Armageddon, because I think I'm gonna win, is also still kind of annoying. You've polished the turd, it's true, but it is still kind of a turd. The issue here is that it's frankly a pretty presumptuous statement. It presumes that your opponents don't have any interaction to mess with you or stop your ability to win, and that assumption is either very arrogant or very foolish. For instance, see the bevy of protective instants that could render one of your opponents immune to your MLD effect. So now it's just 2 other players who aren't casting any more spells, and your focus has to turn now to the one surviving opponent who got to keep all of their stuff, who is now your biggest threat, and who will be able to continue to disrupt you. Meanwhile, the other 2 players are there doing what? Your attempt to secure the game has suddenly got way more complicated and way more messy as soon as you introduce a single instant into the mix. And it's frankly kind of ridiculous not to account for that. People play instants, Steve. As a first-hand example of a game that I once played, someone had an Avacyn making all of their stuff indestructible and then cast an MLD spell and made exactly that claim, that Armageddon is fine if you use it to secure a win. And the buddy of mine in that game was like, okay, well, in response, I can exile these 2 creatures that you have in play, including your Avacyn, so all of your stuff blows up too. And I also was able to remove something else of theirs as well. Which of course meant we're all back at square one. What did we gain? Just truly, there are so many ways that even this version of deploying MLD could go disastrously wrong. You go to nuke all the lands and then they respond by casting a big bounce spell on your board. If you miss time even a little bit, you're for the win MLD, or you don't account for all of the various instants, including the free ones that exist in the game, that could stymie your plans, and therefore what you're doing is no different than Armageddon pass. I can hear some small number of people out there typing right now about having a Grand Abolisher effect in play or something else similar that stops people from playing instants on your turn to guarantee that the MLD spell is effective actually. And I need those 8 people out there to know that I hear you, I understand you, but let's acknowledge that this is not a unique quality of MLD spells. MLD is not special in this circumstance, because if you have a good board and a Grand Abolisher effect in play, there are many spells you could use to win the game with that board. And in fact, there are many spells that will win you the game that very turn if you've shut off enemy instant interaction. So that is not really an argument in favor of MLD, it's an argument that makes MLD unnecessary and moot. So let's go ahead and put that point back in our pockets and move right on. Also, let's just examine the practical reality of MLD is fine if you use it to win. You kill all of the lands because you have a bigger board, and then what? You take a couple of turns to finish everyone off? And you just want everyone else to sit there watching as you do that? I'm going to invoke Dan Sheehan of Piebreak here, who has an amazing bit called Stacks is for Perverts, because as he observes, in situations like that, what you're doing here is forcing other people to watch you while you play with yourself. I mean, unless you're just expecting everyone will scoop and concede after you've knocked all the mana away, but I sure hope that's not the case, because half of the time that I see people complaining about community perception towards MLD, they're accusing people who scoop to MLD of being salty whiners. So which is it? Are you trying to put the onus on your opponents and expecting them not to play to their outs? Or are you trying to get 3 other people to watch you as you play with yourself? Who are you trying to be? If you want to cast one spell to secure the win, to press your advantage and put so much distance between you and your enemies that victory is all but assured, there are a lot of fantastic classics, and they're fun as hell. Plus, bonus, when people have instant responses to you casting them, the end results are not nearly as messy. Let's just not pretend that MLD is uniquely equipped for the mission of helping you win the game, because in fact, it has many faults. You have so many options of ways to secure a win, so it's kind of auspicious that you chose that one. Even if your MLD secures a win, if you're wiping out resources to make sure that opponents can't do anything as you deal damage for the next couple turns, we're right back at the we all watch you play Magic while we don't play Magic, which is the whole entire reason people don't like MLD in the first place. Where did this idea come from that the main reason people don't like resource denial is because it prolongs a game? Where did people get the inclination that the frustration comes from the extended game length rather than the loss of agency part? Just look at the discussions around mass discard or repeated creature sacrifice. It's the same underlying issue there too. It's not about prolonged game time doing nothing, it's about the doing nothing. You came to game night to play a game. We could have been at home with our families. We only get one night a week to play. We could have played anything. It didn't have to be Magic. We could have played any one of the amazing games out there that has balanced gameplay baked right into the design and right into the game pieces themselves. But you know what? Instead, we chose to play this game that has self-expression in it, where we, the players, got to choose the game pieces because that sounded so nice. And you know what? It was really rainy today. The bus came super late. You only have time for one game, but you still made the effort to show up. And then on turn 6, a yokel hops means that your lands aren't there anymore, so you can't cast anything. And the Mogus player is over there pointing out that the enchantments that he has in play will deal 7 damage every turn. So see, he had a plan with his MLD. And yeah, you can appreciate that technically he's not wrong. There is some strategy there, but you know what? Maybe, just maybe, the reason that you're bummed out right now has nothing to do with whether his enchantments are dealing damage. It's not about the game going longer, it's about the vibe shift. It's about whether you're able to contribute to a fun experience. So no, mass lane denial to secure a win is not the saving grace argument that a lot of people seem to think it is, and it is frankly kind of insane that this myth has gotten so commonplace. Again, it sounds nice in theory, but let's observe the practical reality here. This is a less obnoxious version of MLD, but it does not address the core issues at the heart of why people don't care for it. Myth 3, that mass lane denial is a good way to punish green ramp. Let's get into it. This one still gets said a lot. The argument goes that green is very powerful in social or casual games, and of course it is the strongest color at ramping lands. And since MLD is socially uncouth in the commander format, green doesn't have a strong check and balance against its best form of resource accumulation. And this is often paired up with the statement that destroying mana-producing creatures and artifacts, such as mana rocks, is not frowned upon in the same way, thus furthering green's advantage in the social areas of the format compared to other colors who do utilize lots of mana rocks as their primary forms of mana acceleration. There are a migraine-inducingly large number of problems with this argument, so let's address them one by one. Problem 1, tunnel vision. Armageddon doesn't just kill the green player's lands. Your opponents who are playing Dimir or Jeskai or Mono Black also lose their lands, Gorge. Also, let's take a quick look at the data. The cards voted by the community as having the highest salt scores: Stasis, Winter Orb. Everyone dislikes having their permanent resources messed with en masse. Like, let's color shift this argument. Imagine if I said that I was playing Mind Slicer to stop how powerful blue decks are. Do we really think that the Boros player is thrilled by this development? Ah, but wait, I hear you declare. Other colors have more mana rocks than green does, so they recover better or are less affected by MLD. Problem 2, green graduated from the Derek Zoolander Center for kids who can't read good and who want to learn to do other stuff good too. I seem to have missed some grand memo that other people got about what green's ramp actually looks like. Like, I missed the part where green only ramps via lands. I missed the part where green never plays any mana rocks, or where green got bad at making treasures, or where green doesn't have mana dorks. Green does other stuff good too. Green is likely to have some other stuff left over too, because that's what green do. For every one really good mana thing that you find in one color, green's got a lot of other good stuff going on too, and usually at a much higher density of those things in their 99. I just don't think that the Dimir player in the pod going from 6 lands and 2 mana rocks to now just having the 2 mana rocks is the best argument for MLD as anti-green tech. I think it's gauche as hell to kill all of the lands and then look at the mono black player and say, I did this to stop the green one. Something tells me they won't perceive that as a blessing. Something tells me that the Jeskai opponent will still probably try to counterspell your Armageddon, because you know what? Even if they lose that game later, at least they got to keep playing it. Problem 3, use your imagination. Okay, this is what gets me. Like, the statement is that this is about punishing green ramp, right? But the only way in your mind to punish green ramp is the nuclear option? That's how big of a boogeyman green ramp is in your mind? This is I burned my house down to kill a spider levels of overreaction. I think green has too many lands, so the only solution is the biggest, most obvious card that says KO lands on it. That is not an accurate breakdown of power imbalance. That is an admission, a self-report, that you haven't explored other ways of defeating your opposition. Whew, we getting sassy here. Green is good at resource accumulation, period. Using MLD against green is addressing a symptom. It is not addressing a root cause. I think the claim that green is overpowered in social EDH is a subject that merits a lot more debate, but even if we accept that as a premise for now, even if we just say that that blanket statement is true, why are you attacking the color on an axis that it has mastery points in? You know how to counter my black decks? It's not by destroying my creatures, I'll get them right back. It's by pressuring my life total so that I cannot keep using that life total as a resource. In a game against red deck wins, do mid-range or control players try to go faster than the red decks? No, they try to make sure that the red deck runs out of gas so that then they can win the long game. I love this story that Josh LaCroix told on a recent episode of The Command Zone, where he shared a bit about an old basketball buddy that he used to play with. That player was very skilled and very tall, and Josh recognized he could not fight that player on that axis. But what he could do was outlast that person, get that player exhausted, because Josh had more stamina. He just outran the guy. He found an arena that he could specialize in that the other person wouldn't be able to. That's how you address this. You don't attack a strength, you pressure a weakness. And you know what green's weak at? A freaking lot of things. If you really want to stick it to green, you kill their card advantage engines, you fog their combats, you wait for them to overextend playing out their hand, and then wipe their field. All the mana in the world doesn't mean a thing if they've got nothing to spend it on. You pressure their life total while they're spending so much time collecting tons of resources, but they don't have anything big on the field yet. Maybe you even do hand attack if you're that type of playgroup. So yeah, if you really think that green is a problem, start exploring, because lands are not an Achilles heel. Problem 4, the devil gets new toys. Irony of ironies. You know who's really good at mass land destruction? Green. I don't just mean that green is good at recovering from MLD. I mean, it is, but no, I mean that green is better equipped to use MLD than you are. And you know what? I'm just going to let EDH Rec Data make my case on this one. You know what shows up as Armageddon's best friend in the highest synergy cards, aka the cards that are most commonly paired up with that spell? Yeah, they're green, all right. What a shocker. Normalizing mass land denial in Commander does not mean that you are hurting green. It means you are giving green better tools. Windgrace would love to blow things up and bring only his own stuff back. Hazazon makes whole decks out of MLD and recurring its own lands. Omnath would totally kill all the lands and then use Splendid Rec to get them all back for those sweet, sweet landfall triggers. Titania, Gitrog, AC, Necrobloom, they are all better at MLD than you. If you want to play in this arena, go off, Queen, but the end result of winning this battle is losing that war. Problem 5. This isn't really why you want to play MLD, and we both know it. The true, honest, actual, factual tea is just that you want to play MLD. Just straight up, you want to play it. So please just say that. I have zero issue with a person who wants to game with me and says that just straight up they want to play a game that has MLD. Case in point, my boss is one of those people, and he's awesome to play against. More on that later. If you're honest up top about what it is that you're after, then cool. If I've got a deck on me that can throw down in that arena, I'm probably game. But if you're trying to present your nuclear option as some great balancer of color power, that's when and why I get a little bit peeved, because that is Delulu. The rest of the table, whether they're playing green or not, clearly doesn't enjoy that. So you are not perceived in those moments as the green defeater and the savior of color balances. You're perceived as a person who probably could have stood to be a little bit more forthcoming about the game experience that they're actually after. Sincerely, if this was about green, why aren't you playing Perish? Why aren't you playing Acid Rain? Why aren't you playing Insight? Well, you should be playing Insight, actually. That card's terrific. But why aren't you yet? If green is such a problem, why did your attempt to shut green down begin and end with destroying everyone's lands? See again, the Mind Slicer example. Am I off my rocker for saying that it seems possible there's a different motivation going on there? That's the reason this particular thing about green just feels like such anathema to me, because it doesn't seem honest. It doesn't seem like it's honest with others, and it doesn't seem like it's being honest with yourself. I admire the people who just say up front they like it and they want to play it. Like, we love that. We love a little bit of arch enemy. Like, that can be so much fun to play against. Just, it gets awkward when it seems like you're trying to hide behind an altruistic front. Let's please not pretend that blowing up lands is a move done for the sake of the greater good. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. I subscribe to the Alyssa Edwards philosophy.
I don't mind all the theatrics. But if you're going to be loud and rowdy and think you're a bowdy bitch, stand up and be one. Look her, don't be weak sauce.
My favorite type of person is one who's unashamed to be themselves. If you like MLD, then just freaking own it. But don't use something else like Green Ramp as a rhetorical shield, because it's really easy to poke holes in that. From this angle, what it looks like is that MLD is socially squicky and there's a lot of stigma attached to it, and that makes people want to hide from the stigma associated with saying that they like it. So instead of admitting that they like it, the move was to point blame at something else in order to give their motivations a more righteous sounding justification. I'm just trying to let you know that's how it comes off. It looks like a duck, but it quacks like a pseudo-rationalization. So let this be your signal to dig more deeply into the real why that motivates you to play cards like these. If Maldhound can have the courage to come out as straight, I think you can have the courage to come out as someone who likes MLD. Myth 4, MLD is a core part of Red and White's color pie. Nah. I mean, life gain is a core part of White's color pie too, but not every White deck needs life gain. Discard is a huge part of Black's color pie, but I don't put those into my deck either. Blue is really good at mill and artifacts, but not every single blue deck manipulates artifacts or features mill. Every color has stuff that it occasionally ignores. And clearly, every color has cards that are perceived by the community to not always be befitting a casual, communal, take-it-easy gaming experience, and that should probably show up in the sweaty arenas instead of the social ones. There are over 27,000 unique Magic cards in existence. There is nothing special about these 49-ish cards that happen to nuke lands, and it's weird to pretend like Red and White are stranded without them. Myth 5, that MLD is always unfun. Yeah, I bet a bunch of you were making accusations that this video is only going to be about me talking to the people who like MLD. Nah, when I said everyone is wrong about it, I mean everyone, including the people who dislike MLD. I even mean myself. We'll get to it. Mass Land Denial can absolutely be fun. My boss, Don Miner, the creator of EDH Rec and the inventor of the Toaster Strudel, plays an Iroas Yokel Hops deck, and the whole point of that deck is to animate the commander with a bunch of enchantments and then use some red card that destroys everything except enchantments and then pummel everyone with Iroas for commander damage. He also plays a Tanafa deck that phases out all of his own lands so that when he casts Sunder, his resources are not affected. And as a cherry on top, and this isn't Mass Land Denial, but it is funny, I also know for a fact that he has used a strip mine against his 9-year-old son's Arixmethes commander. Like, damn, Don. I was disowned by my father when I was a kid, but that is the most brutal thing to put your son through. Playing against decks like Iroas Yokel Hops is a slog. It's tense, it's difficult, and I freaking loved it. And the reason I loved it is because he was so transparent about that deck's intention, about his goals. We all knew what we were in for. And of course, if we didn't want to play that way, we could have just said so. We could have played different decks or found a different pod to play in. There is tremendous tension that MLD cards can introduce to a game. They can absolutely produce cool gameplay. Trying to get out of that or out of a stacks bind can be remarkably interesting, and it's often a very heady and high concept area of gameplay. It's like a Sudoku puzzle on hard mode, and solving one of those feels incredible. So I understand why people are a little bothered by the knee-jerk reaction and apparent assumption that such cards could never, ever be fun. Just because it isn't fun for you personally doesn't mean that that's the case for everybody. We've all got different tastes. If people who like MLD are coming up with other things to hide behind because of the stigma associated with liking MLD, the problem is the stigma associated with liking MLD. No individual card or category of cards is good or bad on its own. Text removed from context is absolutely meaningless. There are a lot of cards that will be received poorly when playing against the likes of precons, but those same cards could be met with excitement when the correct expectations have been set. And the same thing goes for MLD. But playing those types of cards against precon level decks and even upgraded decks is usually not that context. That is not a scenario in which they will be appreciated. What I hope a system like the brackets can achieve, and especially what the Game Changers list can achieve, is to help make sure that cards or decks are able to be put into a space where their goals will be honored. The very first time that someone told me we're playing bracket 4, and I knew that that meant we're going cutthroat, hit me with all you've got because I think I can withstand it anyway, good lord, what a thrill. You just have to do some work to find all the places where those cards will actually create that impact, where they'll be appreciated. And yes, the onus is on you, the person trying to play it, because you're trying to find your people. We know that liking MLD is an unusual taste for the average palate, so if you want to be understood, you've got to be forthcoming about it. Which also means that all you MLD dislikers out there have got to be more understanding. If someone who likes Mass Land Denial is putting in all of that work, it behooves you to perhaps get over the knee-jerk reaction to the mere concept of MLD and understand understand why it has an appeal for other people, even if it doesn't have an appeal for you personally. Maybe you're not the person to help them meet that need, but surely it's understandable why they want to engage with a different part of the game, right? In other words, everyone who hates MLD needs to get clear about what it is that they actually dislike. Because apparently everyone out there thinks that the problem is that it prolongs the game, when the main issue is loss of agency. How did y'all let that misunderstanding happen? Go clear the air right now. And to loop back to the top of the video, you're also going to have to be vigilant about calling it out when people you normally agree with start crying wolf. Because there are people who make salty posts about opponents playing land destruction, and then it turns out what they're actually flustered about is how someone strip mined their Gaia's cradle. We ain't got time for that. I said up top that I ain't here to bolster any side's arguments. I don't care about any side. What I care about is this. I think a lot of us out there dredge up this topic because it's so charged, because it's so polarizing. It being such a thorny subject makes it easy to make a big claim and to technically be right without ever once advancing the discussion. The reason we're all wrong about MLD is because we're not actually talking about it with each other. We're talking past each other. We're all two ships passing in the night, scoring internet points, making rhetorical arguments without addressing the core issues that are felt by the people who disagree with us. Case in point, I'm not even talking to anyone right now. I'm looking at a camera. I'm not even really here. This isn't even really me. It's a recording of me, a bunch of pixels and sound waves and a cluster of data on the internet. Case in point number 2, all the people who left comments after watching maybe 30 seconds of the video, people who just saw the title and assumed that they know what the contents of the video are going to be and didn't actually entertain the real thesis that's going on here. Thank you for your engagement. I appreciate it. I'm sure your comment was very civil, and I'm sure I will not be misinterpreted in a million different ways on Reddit. And talking past each other like this erases the fact that A, none of this is even actually a big deal, and B, no single person is locked into a single stance. I have many decks and play many games in many contexts where a surprise Armageddon would be a very crappy experience indeed. And I also have many decks where I am more than capable of fighting through mass land and resource denial. And wouldn't you know it, most of them are green. I simultaneously think that people who like MLD are being kind of obnoxious, and that people who dislike MLD are being kind of obnoxious. So which category are you going to lump me into here? Am I too much of a casual to even function, or am I an MLD apologist tryhard? I don't give a shit about whether you play MLD or not, and anyone who assumes that that's my agenda here, you are transparently, critically, everyone can see you incorrect. The only thing that I care about is whether you're being honest with others and with yourself. The thing that I care about is that we stop having rhetorical conversations. Yes, I see the irony that a rhetorical conversation is literally exactly what a video essay is. If me using this platform in this way to discuss this topic feels self-defeating for you, here is a meme and a cookie. Congrats. We've been over this. I am not real. I am part of the problem. When I said everyone is wrong on this subject, I did not stutter. The reason I'm using this platform in this way to discuss this topic, and the reason I've been all over animated in this video is, for one thing, because I think it's entertaining and we could all use some smiles right now. But for another thing, it's because it's really, really good for us as gamers and as humans to be reminded that sometimes we behave like idiots and that we have some room to improve. Every so often, you've got to challenge your assumptions. You've got to reconsider some things. I can admire people who have strong convictions, but if they're actually strong convictions, then they've got to be able to stand up to scrutiny. Because otherwise, what it actually is just resting on your laurels, failing to see other perspectives and limiting yourself. And here on this channel, we are not in the business of rewarding lazy thinking. I find that opinions often seem to function by the laws of momentum. An object at rest stays at rest until a force acts upon it. So here I am acting as a force, because the odds are very good that there are some perspectives you're missing out on. The long time running theme of the videos that I make on this channel is that being good at games doesn't mean if you're not being a good person. The point of Magic is friends. Anyone out there right now being like, the point of the game is to win, actually, don't skirt around what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. Stop trying to be clever. You know exactly what I mean. We're talking about sportsmanship. Keep up. When I said earlier that arguing about the semantics of what is MLD means you're missing the point, this is what I meant. When I said earlier that MLD to win the game still kind of smells, this is what I meant. This is a category of card that shifts the dynamic of the game. When it comes out of nowhere, it changes the energy in the room. That's what we need to be paying attention to right now. This is an atmosphere thing, not a cards on the ground thing. You can be technically right about Blood Moon or whatever, but if you're focusing on that argument instead of focusing on the expressions on other people's faces when a Blood Moon happens to the game, you're setting yourself up for failure. People don't remember whether you're right, they remember how things make them feel. If you want to play spicy stuff, set yourself up for success by establishing contexts in which the spicy stuff that you want to play will be honored and enjoyed. And if people don't like that version of spice, it does you no favor favors to cast aspersions about their intellect or character. And let's put this the other way too. If you don't like MLD, can you make sure that you aren't casting aspersions about people who do? If you know someone who wants to try out mass lane destruction stuff, who maybe seems a little bit irked that MLD has become so stigmatized, I mean, is it crazy to assume that they're just craving an experience that they don't usually get to have? That's what's caused the buildup of frustration there, right? It seems so transparent to me that they're just seeking a different type of challenge, that they want to test their mettle. That is such a relatable desire. And to everyone out there, can we all agree, at the very least, that some of the things that people end up saying as a result of all of these built-up resentments on every freaking end ends up just being a little bit crazy pants? But here I am at the end of things knowing that no matter what I say, a huge part of this is futile. The arguments will rage on, the comment section will be a vitriolic nightmare within the first 2 minutes. There is not much I can do, because after all, I'm just a video. Maybe, just maybe, that means it might be on y'all out there to make something happen. Maybe we all gotta hold ourselves a little bit more accountable, eh? And maybe that means we'd actually get somewhere. Maybe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it made you think. This is Maldhound's gay and therefore virtuous twin signing off.